What are you really searching for? Take a moment. Think about everything you've been seeking over the past few years. Love, recognition, career success, inner peace. What if I told you that this endless search is just a distorted reflection of the only journey that truly matters, the search for yourself? Carl Jung, one of the greatest explorers of the human mind, said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." The awakening Jung speaks of isn't just a fleeting moment of clarity, it's a deep inner revolution that transforms how we relate to everything around us. It's as if we spend our whole lives hunting for treasure in distant lands, only to find it buried in our own backyard. Everything you are looking for is already within you. This isn't just a motivational quote meant for t-shirts or posters. It's a fundamental truth that Jung's depth psychology reveals through the concept of individuation, the process of becoming a whole, integrated, authentic self. It's not about conquering the world. It's about having the courage to conquer yourself. Have you ever wondered why, even after achieving everything you thought you wanted, a familiar emptiness creeps back in? Why relationships, career milestones, or material possessions never seem to completely fill that unexplainable gap inside you? The answer isn't to chase more, it's to see differently what's already there. It's about rediscovering who you truly are beyond the social masks and expectations we wear as if they were real parts of us. Modern culture trains us into a cycle of perpetual seeking. We consume relationships like products, discarding people when they don't meet our expectations. We collect experiences like trophies, always chasing the next achievement to feel complete. We become experts at seeking satisfaction everywhere, except the one place it can truly be found, within ourselves. This is the great illusion fueling our constant restlessness, the belief that what we need is out there when it has always been in here. Have you noticed how much of life is spent searching for someone to complete us? We look for others, to fill the parts of ourselves we haven't recognized. We search for someone to heal our wounds, to give our lives meaning. And when we don't find it, we blame the world, circumstances, or others, rarely questioning the search itself. Jung saw this clearly. We project onto the outside world what we fail or refuse to see within ourselves. The cycle feels endless. You find something or someone you believe is the answer. For a brief moment you feel fulfilled, complete, at peace. But soon the excitement fades, the novelty wears off, and you find yourself right back where you started. Empty, restless, searching again for the next thing that promises to fill the hole in your soul. So it's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. No matter how much you pour in, it's never enough. This external search reflects our internal disconnection. When we don't recognize who we really are, we look outward for clues about our identity. We want others to tell us our worth. We need constant validation just to believe we exist. We seek purpose in careers, relationships, and experiences because we've lost touch with the purpose already embedded in simply being ourselves. Modern spirituality often perpetuates this outward search, just with a different object. Instead of chasing material possessions, we chase transcendental experiences, spiritual gurus, or enlightenment techniques. Even when we think we're turning inward, we're often just looking outside ourselves for a model of how we think we should be on the inside. But the true inner journey has no map, follows no trend, and doesn't promise euphoric experiences. It's an honest dive into the sometimes stormy waters of our own being. Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, something essential still slips through your fingers? Like you're living someone else's life, playing a role that was never meant for you. Jung called this living through the persona, the social mask we develop to function in the world. When we confuse the persona with who we really are, we buy into a false identity that can never satisfy our deeper longing for authenticity. Maybe you search for answers in self-help books, motivational videos, or personal development courses, all promising to reveal the secret to a meaningful life. While these tools can offer useful insights, they often reinforce the idea that you need to become something different to be happy. What are you really searching for? Take a moment. Think about everything you've been seeking over the past few years. Love, recognition, career success, inner peace. What if I told you that this endless search is just a distorted reflection of the only journey that truly matters, the search for yourself. Carl Jung, one of the greatest explorers of the human mind, said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." The awakening Jung speaks of isn't just a fleeting moment of clarity, it's a deep inner revolution that transforms how we relate to everything around us. It's as if we spent our whole lives hunting for treasure in distant lands, only to find it buried in our own backyard. Everything you are looking for is already within you. This isn't just a motivational quote meant for t-shirts or posters. It's a fundamental truth that Jung's depth psychology reveals through the concept of individuation, the process of becoming a whole, integrated, authentic self. It's not about conquering the world. It's about having the courage to conquer yourself. Have you ever wondered why, even after achieving everything you thought you wanted, a familiar emptiness creeps back in? Why relationships, career milestones, or material possessions never seem to completely fill that unexplainable gap inside you? The answer isn't to chase more, it's to see differently what's already there. It's about rediscovering who you truly are beyond the social masks and expectations we wear, as if they were real parts of us. Modern culture trains us into a cycle of perpetual seeking. We consume relationships like products, discarding people when they don't meet our expectations. We collect experiences like trophies, always chasing the next achievement to feel complete. We become experts at seeking satisfaction everywhere, except the one place it can truly be found, within ourselves. This is the great illusion fueling our constant restlessness, the belief that what we need is out there when it has always been in here. Have you noticed how much of life is spent searching for someone to complete us? We look for others, to fill the parts of ourselves we haven't recognized. We search for someone to heal our wounds, to give our lives meaning. And when we don't find it, we blame the world, circumstances, or others, rarely questioning the search itself. Jung saw this clearly. We project onto the outside world what we fail or refuse to see within ourselves. The cycle feels endless. You find something or someone you believe is the answer. For a brief moment you feel fulfilled, complete, at peace. But soon the excitement fades, the novelty wears off, and you find yourself right back where you started. Empty, restless, searching again for the next thing that promises to fill the hole in your soul. So it's like trying to fill a leaky bucket. No matter how much you pour in, it's never enough. This external search reflects our internal disconnection. When we don't recognize who we really are, we look outward for clues about our identity. We want others to tell us our worth. We need constant validation just to believe we exist. We seek purpose in careers, relationships, and experiences because we've lost touch with the purpose already embedded in simply being ourselves. Modern spirituality often perpetuates this outward search, just with a different object. Instead of chasing material possessions, we chase transcendental experiences, spiritual gurus, or enlightenment techniques. Even when we think we're turning inward, we're often just looking outside ourselves for a model of how we think we should be on the inside. But the true inner journey has no map, follows no trend, and doesn't promise euphoric experiences. It's an honest dive into the sometimes stormy waters of our own being. Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, something essential still slips through your fingers? Like you're living someone else's life, playing a role that was never meant for you. Jung called this living through the persona, the social mask we develop to function in the world. When we confuse the persona with who we really are, we buy into a false identity that can never satisfy our deeper longing for authenticity. Maybe you search for answers in self-help books, motivational videos, or personal development courses, all promising to reveal the secret to a meaningful life. While these tools can offer useful insights, they often reinforce the idea that you need to become something different to be happy. Give voice to the parts of you that have been silenced. Ask them what they want, what they need, what they're trying to teach you. You might be surprised by the wisdom that emerges from these hidden parts. As you integrate your shadow, your relationships begin to transform. You stop looking for others to fill the emptiness within you. You stop expecting someone else to heal what only you can face. Your relationships become less neurotic, less dependent, more authentic. You approach others not out of neediness, but from conscious choice, not to be completed, but to share your completeness. For Jung, the true center of our psychic totality isn't the ego but the self, the organizing core of the unconscious that represents our full potential. The self is both the center and the full circumference of the psyche. It's who we are at our deepest essence and what we can become in our fullest expression. The self relates to the ego the way a galaxy relates to the Earth. The ego is just a small point of awareness within the vastness of the self. When we search for meaning, purpose, connection, or transcendence in the external world, what we're really searching for is reconnection with the self. That sense of emptiness driving our outward quests is actually the absence of conscious connection with our true center. Everything we look for out there is a distorted reflection of what already exists within, waiting to be recognized. The self communicates with us through dreams, intuitions, and symbols that emerge from the unconscious. That's why Jung placed so much importance on dream analysis, not as mere curiosities or random brain activity, but as direct messages from the self, guiding the ego toward wholeness. Our dreams often reveal neglected aspects of ourselves, unrealized potential, and paths toward a more authentic life. A simple way to start recognizing messages from the self is to keep a dream journal. Before bed, place a notebook and pen beside you with the clear intention to remember your dreams. When you wake up, before checking your phone or getting up, write down everything you can recall, even if it's fragmented. Over time, patterns will emerge. Recurring symbols will gain meaning. A personal language will develop between you and your unconscious. You'll start receiving answers to questions you didn't even know you had. Beyond dreams, the self also speaks through symbols in daily life. Jung called this phenomenon synchronicity, seemingly coincidental events that carry deep personal meaning. When you're aligned with your true center, the external world seems to conspire in your favor, offering exactly what you need at the right time. Not because of magical thinking, but because you become capable of recognizing and interpreting signs that were always there. Start paying attention to the patterns in your life. Accidental encounters, recurring numbers, symbols that keep appearing. Don't look for supernatural explanations, but personal meaning. What might these synchronicities be trying to show you? What parts of your life are they shedding light on? What direction might they be pointing you toward? By cultivating an awareness of synchronicities, you develop an intuitive navigation system, one that doesn't rely on external maps, but on the internal compass of the self. The journey of individuation is essentially the process of integration between the conscious ego and the unconscious self. It's the transformation from fragmentation to wholeness, from division to unity. It isn't a linear path, nor does it have a final destination. It's a continuous spiral of discovery, integration, and expansion of awareness. Each time we integrate a previously unknown part of ourselves, our sense of identity grows. The walls between conscious and unconscious become more porous. The dialogue between ego and self becomes more fluid. Along the way, we often look for saviors outside ourselves, people, ideologies, belief systems, or spiritual practices that promise to guide us to the promised land of fulfillment. But Jung was clear. True salvation can only come from within. No guru, spiritual master, romantic partner, or philosophical system can do the work of becoming yourself. Others can inspire, support, even illuminate parts of the path, but the journey itself is inevitably solitary and deeply personal. A powerful practice for cultivating connection with your inner center is the Jungian observer meditation. Spend a few minutes daily sitting in silence and simply observing your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations without judgment or analysis. Imagine yourself as a neutral witness to your own experience. With practice, you'll begin to see that there is a you who observes your thoughts, but is not your thoughts, who notices your emotions, but is not your emotions. This inner observer is a window into the self, the core of your psychic wholeness. To deepen this connection, create your own ritual of integration. Rituals have always been powerful tools for the human psyche, bridging the conscious and unconscious. Your ritual can be simple. Lighting a candle, repeating a meaningful phrase, performing a symbolic gesture. What matters is that it holds meaning for you and is practiced regularly. Through ritual, you create sacred time and space for dialogue between your conscious ego and your unconscious self. As you move forward on the path of individuation, your external quests naturally begin to change. Instead of constantly seeking fulfillment from outside sources, you find an internal wellspring of satisfaction that never runs dry. Instead of looking for love to fill a void, you become capable of loving from a place of completeness. Instead of chasing success to prove your worth, you express your natural gifts as a manifestation of who you truly are. Jung understood the self as an organizing center, a principle that naturally moves the psyche toward harmony and integration. Much like a crystal follows invisible mathematical laws to form, or a seed contains the complete blueprint of the tree it will become. Your self already holds the full pattern of who you are and who you can become. It's not something you must build. It's something you must discover. Not something to achieve, but something to realize. Synchronicities are signs that you are aligning with this organizing center. When you start living from the self, rather than from the ego or the persona, life flows with surprising naturalness. Decisions become clearer, not because you have all the rational information, but because your intuition, the voice of the self, speaks louder and with greater clarity. A powerful exercise for cultivating this intuition is decision-making guided by the body. When facing a choice, think of each option separately and observe how your body reacts. Do you feel expansion or contraction, relaxation or tension? Does your breathing deepen or become shallow? Often your body knows the answer before your rational mind can articulate it. This is because the body is a direct receiver of the self's wisdom, unfiltered by the ego's conditioning. With practice, you'll learn to recognize the difference between the ego's impulses, usually motivated by fear, control, or the need for external approval, and the self's guidance, which carries a calm certainty even when it challenges your comfort zone. Ego-driven impulses often create more fragmentation and internal conflict. Self-guided choices move you steadily toward integration and wholeness. Much of human suffering comes from resisting this natural movement toward wholeness. We resist because we fear the unknown, because we have been conditioned to value predictability and control over authenticity, because our culture celebrates polished masks and fears true faces. But, as Jung observed, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. The discomfort we feel when our old conditioning is challenged isn't a sign that something is wrong. It's the necessary friction for growth. When you stop resisting and start cooperating with your individuation process, something remarkable happens. Life doesn't necessarily become easier, but it becomes more meaningful. Challenges don't disappear, but they transform into opportunities for integration and growth. Suffering doesn't vanish, but it gains purpose. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become an active participant in your own evolution. Jung believed that the goal of individuation isn't just personal fulfillment. It's also a contribution to collective consciousness. As each individual becomes more whole and integrated, humanity itself evolves. When you make peace with your shadow, there's less darkness projected into the world. When you realize your unique potential, you offer the world a gift that no one else could give. Your personal journey of self-discovery is also your deepest contribution to collective healing. For Jung, the self expresses itself through archetypal symbols, primordial images that are part of humanity's collective unconscious. These symbols appear in myths, fairy tales, religions, and dreams across cultures and eras. The hero who battles monsters, the divine child, the wise old man, the great mother, all are archetypal manifestations, connecting us to the deeper dimensions of human experience. When something touches you deeply, moving you beyond rational explanation, it has likely activated an archetype within your unconscious. Have you ever noticed how certain stories, images, or songs stir powerful emotions in you? As if touching a truth you've always known but never fully articulated. That's your self recognizing itself in external symbolic expressions. These resonances aren't coincidences. They are important signs pointing toward aspects of your wholeness, asking to be integrated into your consciousness. Pay attention to what moves you deeply. Which characters in stories do you admire or fear the most? What symbols show up repeatedly in your life? A tree, a specific animal, a geometric shape. Write these symbols down and reflect on what they mean to you. Expand their meaning by learning how these same symbols appear in other cultures and traditions. This symbolic amplification enriches your self-understanding, revealing how your personal experience connects to the broader human experience. Recognizing these archetypal patterns in your life isn't an escape from reality. It's a deeper dive into it. It's realizing that your personal struggles, no matter how unique they feel, are part of a shared human journey. That your deepest longings aren't personal flaws, but expressions of a collective quest for meaning and wholeness. This doesn't diminish the uniqueness of your experience. It places it within a larger story that offers both meaning and comfort. Jung observed that many people begin the individuation journey in midlife, when the strategies that once worked, professional success, social status, stable relationships, start to feel hollow. A sense of restlessness emerges, a feeling of emptiness even amid material abundance. This is the self calling for a more authentic life. But you don't need to wait for a midlife crisis to begin this process. The sooner you recognize and respond to the call for authenticity, the less painful the transition will be. Crisis only arises when we resist too long the psyche's natural movement toward wholeness. When we cooperate with this process, it unfolds with more grace and less upheaval. The central paradox of individuation is this: to truly become an individual, you must recognize and honor what is universally human within you. To be uniquely yourself, you must embrace your connection with others. You don't find your individuality by isolating yourself, but by integrating more deeply with the whole, like a wave that, by recognizing its watery nature, doesn't stop being a wave but understands it was never separate from the ocean. The greatest barrier to this recognition is our fear of the unknown. The ego clings to familiar identities because they offer predictability. Letting go of these limiting identities to embrace the vast unknown of the self can feel like dying. And in a way it is, the death of a limited way of being to give birth to a more expansive form of existence. As Jung said, what is repressed doesn't die. It becomes part of the unconscious and exerts a constant influence on our conscious life. When you resist transformation, repressed energies emerge as symptoms: unexplained anxiety, depression without clear cause, compulsive behaviors, dysfunctional relationships. These symptoms aren't enemies to be eliminated, but messengers to be understood. They point to parts of yourself that are asking for recognition and integration. If you only treat the symptoms without addressing the deeper call behind them, new symptoms will appear to take their place. Many people seek therapy or spiritual practices at this point, when the symptoms become intolerable. While these approaches can bring temporary relief, true healing only occurs when the individual takes responsibility for their own journey of individuation. No therapist, no matter how skilled, no spiritual path, no matter how profound, can do this work for you. Others may offer maps, tools, and support, but the path itself must be walked on your own 2 feet. True commitment to this journey takes courage. Courage to face your deepest fears. Courage to question your most ingrained beliefs. Courage to release identities that, though limiting, have become comfort zones. This courage isn't the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward despite it. As Jung said, we are not what happens to us. We are what we choose to become from what happens to us. This choice, the choice to consciously participate in your own evolution, may be the only true freedom we have. We can't control the circumstances of our birth, the conditioning of our culture, or life's many surprises. But we can choose how we respond to those conditions. We can choose to resist the call of the self or to answer it. We can choose to repeat unconscious patterns, or consciously transform them. When you choose the path of individuation, you discover a form of autonomy that doesn't depend on external conditions. Paradoxically, by surrendering to the natural process of your psyche, you become truly free. Not free from limitations or challenges, but free to face them from a place of wholeness rather than fragmented condition. As this inner freedom grows, your relationship with the outer world naturally transforms. You stop seeking validation because you've found your own center of worth. You stop chasing external security because you've anchored yourself in an inner stability that can't be shaken. You stop looking for love as a cure for loneliness because you've discovered an inner companionship that makes solitude fertile rather than frightening. This is the great revelation of the individuation journey. The treasure you've been searching for in the world has always been within you. The love you longed for in others is a reflection of the love you can give yourself. The wisdom you sought in teachers and books is an echo of the wisdom already present in your deep unconscious. The peace you pursued in spiritual practices is an expression of the peace that arises naturally when you become whole. Jung noted, the development of individuality is an inner necessity, for if the inner voice is not heeded, the personality is mutilated. Listening to that inner voice isn't a luxury for times of calm. It's a vital necessity for living authentically. It's not something to be done after all external demands are met. It's the very condition that allows you to meet them from a genuine place. The great irony of our culture is that while we're bombarded with messages about the importance of finding yourself, we're simultaneously conditioned to seek our identity in external sources. From a young age, we learn to measure our worth through comparisons, achievements, and approval from others. We develop deep mistrust in our essential nature and an equally deep dependence on external validation. The result is an epidemic of alienation, not just from others, but from ourselves. This alienation is the real source of the existential emptiness we try to fill with relationships, possessions, experiences, and even spiritual practices. None of these outer pursuits can truly satisfy us, because none of them address the fundamental wound, our disconnection from ourselves. As Jung said, your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. The awakening Jung speaks of isn't a mystical state reserved for the enlightened few. It's the natural awakening of consciousness as it turns toward its own source. It's the realization that you are not just your personal story, social, roles, or cultural conditioning. You are the awareness that observes it all and more. You are both the seeker and what is being sought. Imagine living from that awareness. No longer fragmented between who you are and who you think you should be. No longer divided between what you desire and what you fear. No longer separate from what you're looking for. Life would stop being a never-ending search and become a flowing expression of your wholeness. Your relationships would shift from attempts to fill gaps to celebrations of shared fullness. Your work would stop being proof of your worth and become an outlet for your natural gifts. This isn't a utopian fantasy. It's the natural result of the individuation process. As Jung wrote, individuality is the secret and the ultimate foundation of all achievement. When you become who you truly are, not who you think you should be or who others expect you to be, you release a creative potential and vitality that no external effort could ever produce. The path to this realization isn't linear or predictable. There's no universal map. Each person must find their own way, responding to the unique call of their self. For some, this call comes through vivid dreams. For others, through meaningful synchronicities. For others still, through creativity, connection with nature, or deep relationships. What matters isn't how the call comes, but your willingness to hear and respond to it. Jung believed that this openness, this willingness to embrace the unknown within, is the true essence of spirituality. Not loyalty to dogma or specific practices, but the readiness to follow the inner voice even when it challenges your established beliefs. Religion, he wrote, is a defense against the experience of God. He didn't deny the value of religious traditions, but pointed out how we often use external structures to avoid direct contact with the mystery of our own depths. That depth, the self Jung identified as the center of psychic wholeness, is fundamentally mysterious. It can never be fully known or defined because it transcends the limits of rational consciousness. It's like trying to pour the ocean into a cup. The ego can only grasp fragments of the self, never the whole. This epistemological humility is essential to individuation. You don't arrive or conquer wholeness. You participate in it, open yourself to it, engage with it more and more deeply. Jung described this attitude as the symbolic attitude, the ability to recognize that every form of expression, whether a dream, myth, religious dogma, or scientific theory, is only an approximation of truth, never the truth itself. This attitude frees you from the literalism that freezes life into rigid concepts. It allows you to hold your beliefs without being possessed by them. It grants you the freedom to evolve continually without losing your center. Living symbolically doesn't mean escaping the real world in favor of mystical abstractions. On the contrary, it means seeing the real world with greater depth, recognizing how the ordinary is saturated with extraordinary meaning. Every encounter, every challenge, every moment of joy or pain is not just an external event, but a symbolic expression of your inner evolution. When you adopt this view, the boundary between inner and outer starts to dissolve. What happens inside you and what happens outside you are seen as aspects of one unified field of experience. Your outer life becomes a mirror of your inner reality, and vice versa. As Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Perhaps the most liberating realization that comes from the individuation journey is this: the one who searches and what is being searched for are the same. There is no fundamental separation between you and the object of your deepest desire. The sense of separation, of something missing, of a piece that needs to be found out there, is the grand illusion that sustains all suffering. Jung expressed this truth when he wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." The dreamer chases images, projections, fantasies, always seeking, never truly finding. The awakened one recognizes the source of all images within themselves. They no longer search to fill a void, because they've realized the void was just the absence of self-recognition. You are what you seek. Every relationship you pursue, every achievement you desire, every experience you long for, all are reflections of parts of yourself calling to be seen and integrated. Your outward search will never end until you recognize it for what it really is, a circular path that always brings you back to yourself. This recognition isn't the end of the journey, but a fundamental shift in how you walk it. You still relate, create, work, and experience, but from a different center, not from lack, but from fullness, not from fragmentation, but from integration, not from fear, but from love. Jung believed that every individual who undertakes this journey of self-discovery contributes not only to their own fulfillment, but to the evolution of collective consciousness. The person who integrates the unconscious, he wrote, involuntarily contributes to the mental health of the community they belong to. Your individuation is not a selfish pursuit, it is your greatest gift to the world. Today, you have the opportunity to begin or deepen your own individuation journey, to realize that everything you're looking for is already within you, waiting to be discovered, to transform your outward search into an inward dive, to awaken from the dream of separation into the reality of wholeness. As Jung wrote, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This is life's invitation to you, not to become some idealized version of yourself, but to discover and express who you already are, in all your complexity, contradiction, and beauty. There is no more important journey, no more rewarding adventure, no more valuable contribution you can offer the world. Look within, awaken. You are what you seek.